So the E36 M3. Now this car came from a $5,000 car to basically where it's at now. We've redone a bunch of the suspension, all the bushings. So I think installing the supercharger is really going to be kind of like the icing on the cake for this car. It's not going to be something that's, you know, insanely powerful, but at the same time, I think it's going to have enough power to where it's fun to drive.
Let's go! Let's go!
It's a wrap. We're done for today. It's a totally different car, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so what's the first step here?
Well, I think first step is let's take all the parts out of the box, lay them out, separate them, organize them on the table.
Okay. Let's do it. With this kit, I definitely needed some help installing it. One of my biggest things is I'm always wanting to learn. I know that I don't know everything, and I know that I have a lot to learn, especially when it comes to cars. So my dad's been working on cars for his whole life. As long as I can remember, he's had a 442 in the garage. It's only natural for me to ask him for help on this project. I could have dropped it off at his shop, but it wouldn't have been the same thing. There's just something about it that, you know, actually going through this and seeing how we end up at the end. I got my dad here helping me today. If you got an E36 and you're looking to install a supercharger, this is what it takes, but this is not by any means an instructional video of how to do it. So this is the Active AutoWorks Level 1 kit. They make a Level 2 kit. It's about $2 grand more, and to be honest, I was like, once you get past that point of like 350 horsepower, you gotta start thinking about lower compression. I don't wanna mess with the head gasket, so if you're gonna go lower compression, you'd have a thicker head gasket and lower the compression of your engine. I have an OEM head gasket. I don't wanna deal with that right now, so we're gonna stay around the 350 horsepower mark. If we make that with this kit, we'll see what ends up happening. I think a big question for this is why not go with the turbo build? This was just an easy thing. It was a kit, and I just kind of didn't want to spend a ton of time building out a crazy engine for this car. So we're installing a supercharger. So the first step was taking out the air box, the air filter, getting that all out of the way so we could actually put all the piping in it. Also, from the instructions, we're not going to actually put that back in, so it's just kind of something to put aside so we can access other stuff.
So now we should be able to just try to lay that back over here. There you go.
Can we just also take these?
No,
I guess that, yeah.
I think that is just all you need right there.
All right, take that out.
Got it?
Yeah, it's the same type of thing on the other side.
All right.
So next up was the air oil separator. We're basically just taking this piece out to put a little block on it and then keep moving through it.
That should be good right there. Intake vacuum. Looking at the underside of the intake manifold, there are two vacuum ports. One will have an inline check valve already installed. Do not use this vacuum source. Well, let's just look at what they're talking about. So what I did is I just took it off of here,
Okay.
took this,
Oh, shoot, unplugged it. Got it.
unplugged it,
Yep.
plugged it in, replugged it. This has to go this.
Let's go forward. Yeah, let's go.
Into there.
Yeah. All right, guys, so here's where we're at right now. We removed the air fuel separator. Air oil separator, not fuel, oil. We basically blocked that off. Dad, help me out here. What else? Some new hoses.
Coming from the valve cover to the oil air separator, and it
Plug
just
that.
blocked it off.
Yep. And there was also a block that went in there.
It
Went to the intake manifold, right?
Yes.
We put the vacuum lines in right here,
Right.
with the breather hose. This clamp was a bitch to get off, and they have it mounted up here, but we're not sure because there's no way right now with the tension that's on there that would mount up.
So the valve is also missing the bracket. It's missing on the valve, so we can't really mount it to anything unless we make or get a bracket.
Yeah, so there's actually a bracket. Let me see if I can get in here. There's a bracket that goes right around this piece right here, right around those threads. But we're moving through it. We're on step 1.5. I'm just kidding. We've got a decent amount done, but as of now, this is where we're at. We were hoping we didn't have to take the radiator or the front end off, and it was kind of getting to the point where I was like, it's in the way. We took that out so we could just access things a little bit better. And it was like, it's like a 5-10 minute thing to take a radiator out. So it's easy.
So I'm looking at it like this, right? I'm saying this is the top, according to how they have it.
Yep.
I don't know what the top
This
is
is
the
right
bottom.
Yep.
So that means this is the shorter one.
All right, so we're having a little problem figuring out. We have where's that bracket go? Right here. So we have this bracket right here, and the instructions aren't very clear to say where this actually bolts into. We unscrewed a couple bolts that were different lengths, so I guess right now we're just trying to figure out where this goes. But I'm excited to see it just right here. It's gonna be cool. The thing's pointing down, right? Being that I haven't worked on a lot of my own cars, even putting on the belts was something that like I didn't really know how to do. I didn't really understand. It's easy to tell what the water pump, power steering, all that stuff is when you can see it from like what the piece is. So in other words, if I'm looking at it from left to the right, but when you're looking at it from the front and you only see the actual pulleys, it's hard to tell like, okay, well, which one's which. And so when my dad was explaining, I was like, I don't really know. Can you help me out, Dad? 'Cause I don't really know which one's which right here. I'm trying to follow the graph. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to use this.
All right, let's get the breaker bar.
I could pull, there was no, you realize it went all the way last time, right? Yeah. It couldn't move anymore.
All right.
Like it wasn't
It's
like.
going to be, not going to be, I just want to, because it might take a while for me to.
Well, it sounded like it was hard to pull. We ended up switching to where I was just pushing down the tensioner, and it was kind of a lot of communication. It's one of those things when you're working with a parent, things can get a little lost in translation.
I'll have to loosen this here. So you get it in a position where you can hold it for a while. I'm going to need to be able to, so you got to maybe push down so that I got operating in this area.
Long story short, I'm pushing down the tensioner, and my dad's like, it needs to go more. I'm like, I'm all the way. Well, can't we? Wait, so how, isn't that the wrong way? Isn't it supposed to go on the back one?
Yeah, it's supposed to go back here, but I gotta figure out how the hell I can get it on there. It shouldn't be that. Oh wait, that's got.
Needs to go more. And I'm like, I'm all the way, and I literally just.
Oh shit.
Well, that's you asked me to push it. There you go. I was pushing down on it.
All right, we're done for the day.
Okay, so guys, here's what's going on. Basically, the belt that came with the Supercharger kit was too short. How short?
Well, we won't know until we actually get one to fit.
Oh, yes,
right
you're
now
right.
we haven't done that yet.
What's your guess? Like
I'm saying it's probably an inch and a half in the circumference short.
Okay.
Which, whatever the millimeter is.
And so when you go to Napa, AutoZone, O'Reilly, any of these places for belts, the problem is they do belts by factory
right.
cars, right? So I got to tell them I have it, this M3 this year, whatever. But that's not going to work for us because Supercharger, you obviously need a different belt size. So I had to, after a little bit of back and forth, they finally said, okay, we'll grab you the part numbers near those. So I was able to grab two that were longer. Now one is kind of substantially longer, and then one is a little bit longer. Hopefully, we don't need the middle one. But I didn't have that one.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll find out once we get this one, which is the middle one on, we'll see. So we're going to stick this hole in this pin hole here. Cody is going to, on the one that's on the engine, he's going to turn this, which is on, you can't do it out of the engine because it's spring loaded.
Yeah. I'm not sure the hole.
And then we'll stick it through here into this pinhole here, and it locks it. That way you don't have to have somebody holding it.
Cool. Let's do it. We don't want to end up like this one.
Okay.
This is what's called miscommunication.
Okay. Oh shit.
So this is the one. This is the one that's was closest, correct? A little bit bigger.
Yeah, a little bit longer.
Versus the
I thought
92.
I would give it a shot. You can see it almost went too far. So it's probably a little bit too loose. So which is, and that's a problem. It's a little bit too loose and the other one might be too tight. I'm thinking once this stretches a little bit.
So what? Should we try the old one again and see if we can make it?
Well, let's try the one that's
first
just
one.
up one.
Take that one off then.
Yeah. Okay, flip. Go.
One of these days you'll have this memorized now by this time.
So supercharger. This goes around this way. Right?
And then under the alternator.
So under the alternator.
Oh come on! I think this is gonna fit. Belt tensioner, cool crank, power steering. All good. Just gotta get around that last one. This shit's not going anywhere. Oh wait, almost got it. Without. Almost there. So the belt's on.
Well,
What do you think?
that's even too short. So, you know, you need one maybe a half an inch.
So why is this one
longer.
too short? Like what's the?
Well, I just think that it'll stretch a little bit, but you want to be able to get it on there without having to do all of this. It shouldn't be that tight.
Yeah.
But it'll stretch a little bit. That's what they do.
Okay, so we got this hose right now on the radiator. Long story short, if we put it back right, if we don't put it back, we're gonna have all the piping and everything in the way. So right now we're gonna put it halfway back, cut it somewhere.
Cut it in this. We'll splice it here. Put in a little section in between it, so then that way
We can just take it off easy.
Just take it off right here. Connect it right here, and this section will have a drain on it. So if and when this ever has to come off again, we can do it right here.
Yep. And so that'll sit kind of like right here.
Right in the open, yeah.
It's right there, so it's in the open. Obviously, it's a supercharger kit, so there's a ton of piping. With the piping, the directions were just terrible. Like, you can't really tell from these little pictures which one's which, and on the actual instructions that include like what's in the box, it still doesn't say those numbers. So it's kind of this thing of like going back and forth. Is this the right pipe? Is this the right pipe? And once we figured out, you know, how things went and where they went, getting everything in there and situated was just, it was a little bit of like, do it, take it out, do it, take it out, until we could get the right fitment.
Oh,
See that?
Yeah, it
The
is
picture's
there.
just horrible, and you can't tell that this piece is there.
Yeah, it blends. This has got to come off. It's almost like,
Well, couldn't we almost just pull this up to put the piece in?
yeah, but you know, it's got to do more than just go in there. It's got to get in here. So it's almost like they needed to tell you an installation process.
Once we started to figure out the path of how we could get it locked in, then it came down to, we had a bracket in the way. So this bracket was literally sitting right there, and it was just like, it's only like that, you know, that far out, but it was one of those things, that's what we needed to make that fit. So my dad went ahead and grabbed a Dremel, we cut that off, and kept moving through it. Okay.
Let me see.
Is this thing finally in? This can go in a little farther, right here, but I think it's in.
Well, it looks a lot better than it has the previous 23 and a half times.
Holy shit, how are we supposed to do this? How is this supposed to fit?
You didn't think we were home free yet, did you? Now you may have to twist that, turn it, whichever way.
But I'm saying, where the hell's the hose clamp gonna go? I guess it might be able to fit through.
it needs to connect underneath here, right there, with a hose clamp. So
The hose clamp's right there,
you can go right through here.
Yep.
We'll just need, what size is that?
I don't know, 6 or 8. 1 or 2. 8. So there was one more bracket that was also in our way, and that was the one for the horn. It was the bracket for the horn. The horn just slightly in the way for the air filter to come out, and so we ended up cutting that one off too, because we could make it fit, but we couldn't actually fit the headlight back in with that with that horn bracket and the air filter right there. Should be good right there. That's good. Yeah, that's all I need. It was getting late. My dad had to head out. He actually came after work. So each day we've been working on this, we've been working after work or like kind of a half day. The only full day we had was kind of the first day, and that was really just setting everything up, figuring out what we had, what direction to go. So my dad left, and me and Ryan kind of just worked on a couple little things. We did the injectors. We removed the front bumper, we installed the oil cooler, and then ran all the lines from the reservoir to the cooler, supercharger, got that all figured out and squared away. We had to remove the front bumper just to make it easier to access everything. And then from there, the next thing was really just to get everything back together. It's been like 2.5 days, maybe I would say 2 full days at this point of actual work if you combine all the time. And so now it's just putting the radiator back in, putting all the little, covers back on, make sure all the hoses are back connected, and just really tying up all the loose ends to get this thing back together. All right, so we're gonna give it a start up right now. We don't have a tune on it, so it's probably gonna idle like shit if it even starts. Dad, what are your predictions here?
No comment.
No comment? I didn't know if it was gonna start or not. I didn't really know if it was something that because when you put all this stuff together, you're like, most likely something's not gonna be tied up. Okay?
Okay, just hit it once and just see if it even turn over.
Nothing.
Okay, just hit it.
Start it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Okay. Well, now it probably wasn't charged.
We went to start the car and it didn't start. And it kind of sent us down like a whirlwind of passive, okay, why is it not starting? Is the battery dead? Battery definitely wasn't dead, but just to rule that out, we put it on a charger, left it for a little bit. There's a little chip in the key. I can't remember the exact name for it. It's EM something, but basically it's a chip that reads the key to make sure it can start that car. So even if you have the correct key, if that chip doesn't work, it won't start the car. You know what? Hold on. Dad, I think I know what it is.
Was that tight?
No. All right, let's see.
That's it, Cody.
Okay, let's see.
You sure it's plugged in now? Okay. Well,
Okay. So key. Okay. Ready? Moment of truth if that was it or not. So that was it.
you know how much that could have cost? This whole system, it could have been, new batteries. Oh.
Long story short, after doing all that stuff, we realized that I unplugged something to clean it and didn't plug it back in. So that was why the car didn't start. Because we didn't even hear anything when you went to go start the car. There was nothing. So it just came down to something not being plugged back in, and it started right up. So from here, now we gotta tune the thing and do like a break-in period, all that. But we got the startup. It's installed, we got the startup. Now I just can't wait to actually drive this thing and enjoy it. I mean, I've only had this car 6 months and a lot's been done to it. Regardless of not being able to drive it on a track more than once and having it overheat, I'm still excited to actually get this thing driving. I know I keep saying that, I'm excited to drive it, but one of these days we'll get to that point. So that was it.